So I almost think that these could be both used in different ways, in different places.
So I think they're both, I think both ideas are great. The challenge that I have is, and I think this is kind of where John was going last month, which is the challenge is, okay, that's kind of, I don't want to say motherhood or like, but it's, it's like, it's, if I'm a business and I see that, Waldoboro.
You're muted.
Yeah, you muted.
I must have hit something when I was in the middle of my thoughts. Anyway,
we lost you at Waldoboro.
Yeah, so that I don't know. I guess are either of those powerful enough to have an impact, I guess. And maybe there is nothing powerful enough to truly have an impact. I don't know.
My experience with these kinds of things has been, well, certainly with trade names, as well as slogans, is that if you find one that a lot of people love, there will be people that hate it, and that the people that hate it love another one, and the other people will, that unfortunately ended up with things that were pretty blah most of the time, because there were always people that really didn't like one of them that other people were passionate about. And I'm just wondering whether, if there was a way, I don't know, because I haven't been to all of these and I don't know what's gone on in the past with this branding idea, how broadly you've gotten input. Because I find in the case of these kinds of things, the more ideas you get, that can be very helpful. And then sometimes you can put different disparate things. There might be ways to put them together if you get the right verbiage, like the home idea and the work idea, or something related to the outdoors or the bay. There might be some things that could come, if you get enough ideas, there might be ways to wordsmith it and come up with something that's really short, but still captures a broader array of thought.
Yeah.
It isn't necessarily going to work that way, but if there's a way to get a lot of ideas in, it could give us a lot more to work with.
We did a lot of that kind of work for years, actually, in different ways. One of our community planners actually had everybody who was voting during a voting thing, it was either June or November, fill out a sticky paper about their favorite things, sticky notes, favorite things about Waldoboro, to try to get a clear picture. That data, I don't know if Max has ever run across that data or not, because that was all part, we did visioning, we had town meetings all over town, in different neighborhoods, and did procedures and processes. And all of those reports that we've been looking at, the village, the downtown village one, the visioning one, and so forth, the comprehensive plan was actually just now created over those last few years based on those reports. So there's been a lot of public, I'd say over 12 years. And we've never really pulled together that, I mean, we did surveys even. We never pulled a lot of that data together and just sat down over crunching that data or just going through and looking for words and stuff. But it hasn't resulted in a clear view, I don't think.
I went to a seminar once, a long time ago, with my younger open mind. And it was about doing business in the Eastern countries. And they told the story of this woman who was teaching the little seminar, told the story that in China, Well, in the US, we will form a committee to figure out the answer to the problem. In China, they would form a committee to figure out what the problem really was, because then the answer would be self-evident.
Mm,
That is so often the case. So I say
Hmm.
that in the context of, what are we trying to do with this slogan? Are we trying to make ourselves feel better? Are we trying to draw people here from Chelsea? Are we, what is it we're actually trying to do? Because I think if we do figure that out, we'll know what the right words are.
that's a great point.
The great approach. Okay, so, man, this is where Zoom is really a disadvantage, isn't it? I'd love to be up on a
You can mute
blackboard.
me
right
if you
Yeah,
want.
you need a whiteboard and,
A whiteboard,
Yeah.
yeah, putting, yeah.
Don't we have a whiteboard function in here? Maybe.
There's
Probably,
screen share.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's screen share and whiteboard. I bet there is.
Maybe,
You guys
I would-
keep talking. You guys
maybe,
keep talking. I'll see if I got it. Yeah, there's a
Okay.
whiteboard. There's a whiteboard option where
Yeah.
I just share the screen, and then, like you'll see, I got the screen, and then I just
Ooh, look at that.
Perfect.
whatever I
Okay.
want.
Oh,
Perfect.
Max.
So
right.
Max, you're going to be our scribe.
And you're
Yes,
gonna write
I'm
in blue
doing that
pencil?
right now with the minutes.
He's already scribing. Yeah.
Let's
If we
take a,
could get that list of, maybe the purpose too, that because I agree with you, George, but if we could get a copy of, if there was a list of those things that was generated before, that might be helpful. If we can get it.
well, what the other thing I was gonna say is that it seems like there's, and this has already been said tonight, but it seems like there's kind of two columns that this goes into. One is attracting businesses, and the other is making people want to live here, which sometimes means retire here, which is a slightly different goal, largely different goal. And I don't think you can force it in either case. I was trying to think, I was going to use a bad analogy of, you can have slogans all day long, but the seed doesn't germinate till the conditions are right.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually talking about seeds germinating here in a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
is tourism in there too? Isn't I to go to what George was saying about what's the purpose? Because drawing business is one, but tourism is another that you want to.
I'm not sure what we have other than a few restaurants and foodies to.
No, we have Topsail Farm.
Yes.
And there's more and more people, B&B type places that are for rent.
Airbnb,
Yeah,
yep, we
there's
have
a lot of Airbnbs.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Glamping seems to be getting a lot of traction.
Well, and then there's all the and then there's recreation. There's all these trails. There's conservation commission
Right.
event like 2 hours ago, and talking about all the trails and stuff we have here.
Mm,
So that, I'm glad I asked that question. We just have a public record of all kinds of good things to recreationally do.
We have a list of 100 things to do in Waldoboro that the community created. And that was one of the things that we had done over the years. And people kept adding to it.
On the town website, is there a list of places to stay, either the Airbnb?
No. No, and actually, I'm not sure they can do that, because that would be, I think that's been Julie's concern, is that you either have everybody or you can't have anybody, it's
mhm.
you're,
Advertising.
Is that something the Business Association has on their website? And is
we
there a
have
link from-
people who are members are on our website, George. That's what we are, a membership organization.
town website links to the WBA website.
Yes, but we only can put members on our website.
Right, but there is an indirect listing, if you will, by virtue of that link.
Mm-hmm. And Airbnb owners aren't all that eager sometimes, depending on how they do their business, to put it on a list in a generic place. They get plenty of attention through Airbnb. And sometimes they don't want people to know,
Mm.
So I would say the overriding goal is to raise awareness of Waldoboro. And that could mean, it could raise awareness as a destination for recreation, or we're losing a few, but we've got some great galleries in town. When COVID's over, hopefully they'll open up again. You know, the river obviously is a wonderful spot for people to go. Raise awareness of businesses to come in, and to George's point, probably one of the most affordable areas in Mid-Coast Maine to set up a business. That's pretty powerful, I think, if you're looking to spend your hard-earned dollars and start something up. And of course, just to get people to move here. So there's an amazing real estate boom going on in Maine right now, as people from all other areas just seem to want to move up here, and you'll see it. I mean, there's sold signs everywhere you look.
The
So-
listings rarely last a week now.
Yeah. So, you know, we want to make people aware that Waldoboro wants to be part of all that, I think. We want to raise awareness of Waldoboro.
It's a little opportunistic, but the fact that Maine had such low COVID rates, is that part of
Yeah.
this conversation?
Big part of it. And that we're wide open. You know, there's, what are we, 1.5 million people in the state, I think, something like that.
1.3.
1.3, yeah.
But who's
It's a big
counting?
state for only 1.3 million folks.
When I was growing up, we were 1.3 million.
And they were younger then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I found the visioning survey data.
So let's have a little bit of groupthink. How do we move forward on this project?
Well, I like the question that George asked through the Chinese. And I heard Scott,
Identify the problem. Yeah.
what are we trying to solve here? And I'm not sure I have an answer. I think the general perception is that Waldoboro needs to be on the map more than it is. Is that expressing the problem? Is that a problem?
Well, exactly, and because you're gonna have people in town who feel both ways,
Right.
Yeah.
They don't,
both ways.
yeah.
Well, and for
I'm-
people from not here, you know, not many people know you know, people know Moody's Diner, but otherwise people don't know Waldoboro or even necessarily understand what the mid-coast means, but people would generally recognize, you know, Portland and Camden. You know, there's a big space in between, and I think that just an awareness, and there's people that I've talked to from around here who have no idea how significant the clamming industry is here. No idea what you know, so.
And let's reverse the argument for a second. Let's just say, okay, Damariscotta. What do you think of when someone says Damariscotta? Or Thomaston? Or Lincoln? Or Jefferson? What comes to mind? And nothing immediately,
Mhm.
you know?
True.
Well,
I mean, for me, Damariscotta it's got a nice downtown and it's got a nice parking by the river, but that's just me. That's what I think about Damariscotta.
But
And
so
it's-
so
And
does
it's too crowded for somebody who doesn't like crowds like me. It's like Damariscotta.
Right. Summertime, you don't go to Damariscotta. It's too crowded in summertime. So you don't go to Damariscotta in the summer, and you don't go to Damariscotta during the Pumpkin Fest, even though you might want to go in the Pumpkin Fest because you can't get in and out. You know, those are local feelings about that, you know?
Yeah. Like
But
same thing for the
I don't-
Lobster Fest in
okay, but
Rockland. is stay
The
away.
fact that it's so crowded is actually what we're trying to accomplish, isn't it? A little bit.
Well, the
the
reason
question.
it's so crowded is because it has so many, it's got a real long, just like Rockland. It's got a long street, several blocks long, with businesses and stores and restaurants on both sides. We don't have that, so we're not going to get that.
Right.
I was gonna say, our slogan could be plenty of parking, except we don't have plenty of parking.
Right.
Or it's at the wrong end of the hill or halfway up the
Right.
hill, which is a big deal for people.
So here's something I don't know the answer to. So maybe one of you or Max might know. What's the difference in population between Waldoboro and Damerscott?
Waldoboro's got more than double the population, or about double. No, a little bit, maybe a little bit less. Yeah,
About double. That's about
yeah,
right.
about double.
And if
And
you're-
Waldoboro is a double township, so we have way more land.
Mhm.
So to me, that's pretty amazing.
It's only what, 55? What is it? What's the population?
5,100, 5,100, right, roughly.
I
Yeah.
thought didn't it go up? I think on the town website, it said we had more now.
No, I don't think so.
I-
Oh,
We have enough so that the building code is tougher for commercial buildings than if
Right.
we had 4,900. Happen to know.
Oh, gee.
yeah,
Another one of those threshold things that don't help. Yeah.
right.
Yep.
I don't know. So Damerscott is a service center. Rockland is a service center. That has a specific definition, a specific meaning on the federal scale, and it also means it attracts a lot of people in to do business there, retail there, etc. And Waldoboro doesn't have the infrastructure or the setup for that right now. We have a Route 1 area, and then we have the little crossroads basically in the downtown, which goes one block in each direction.
But
That's basically what we have.
what people don't know about Waldoboro is that we have a lot of small businesses
Yep,
are scattered all over the place.
yep,
Mhm.
And the map and guide kind of shows you somewhat what that is. I don't know how you leverage that into some kind of characterization. But it's a really interesting place when you look at what's out there and what you could spend a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday visiting.
and exploring.
Kristen
Yeah,
Wallace,
Well, and that's the way to, I think you're onto something there, Bob, just because, as Jen said, we're limited in the downtown space. So if you're not going to have that retail shop center, but we have a lot to offer in terms of businesses, but it's more scattered.
Yeah.
But we should try, it seems to me that then the slogan or whatever it is we're looking for, we want to try to turn that into an asset.
Yep.
And sell it as an asset rather than, because we can't, I don't think there's much we can do unless we change the whole infrastructure and building construction of the downtown to create more storefronts. If we can't do that, then we have to turn our, how it's spread out, but that there's a lot of stuff going on into a vision of it as an asset, not a detriment.
Room to grow, Waldoboro.
Oh, room to grow.
Actually, can I jump in based on what George just said right there? Because I think of, as I was doing the minutes today in a lovely feverish rush to do it, I hit a point where John Martins was talking, saying, someone from 2 towns over or someone from out of state, they're not going to look at a slogan. They're going to look at what's in the town when they're deciding what to do.
Mhm.
And another thing that John was saying was, if we're going to make a saying, it's got to be something realistic that we're working towards. And I see a few different things that are waiting and they're ready in Waldoboro. It's always just been something where we need to take that step. We need to take that commitment to that, to reach that. Because when I think of Damerscott, I think it's Main Street essentially. Like it's the Twin Village area where there's the bridge with Newcastle, And then you have the main street that connects all the way almost seamlessly down to where the school is. Like that's one big commercial area. That's what I think of every time. And, you know, you have a parallel road that has all these nice little suburb type homes and everything. When I think of Rockland, I think of that big harbor area. I think of, again, all these tiny little streets that just break off and you can see all these nice little crevices and homes. I think of Waldoboro. I think of Maine. I think it is actually the best representation of Maine when you think about it.
Yay.
You have the highway that cuts right through it, and you see your northern Maine and your southern Maine in Waldoboro. You have like the little retail area in the center. You have the homes and the aquaculture people who live in the southern end, and then in northern Maine, you have the farms. You have all the recreation outdoors fields. You have a river that cuts right through it too. And with the Conservation Commission today, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize the type of recreational opportunities that are in town, all the conserved land that is here,
Right.
that if you just told people, hey, there is a massive forest just off of Route 1 with hemlock trees that have been here before Maine was even a state, that probably would blow some people's minds. But what do people think of when they say, well, where's the town forest? It's the BIW parking.
Yeah.
And Quarry Hill. There's potential for a lot of trails to work up there as well. It's just that type of push hasn't happened. And then in the downtown, that's why one thing that Bill and I have wanted to get going, and unfortunately COVID kind of stopped everything, was this downtown master plan, implementing it to change how we have the traffic flow from the West Main Street intersection all the way down to the Moody's Diner intersection, and changing up the infrastructure and addressing multiple infrastructure items in that village area. And yeah, that's what I'm just thinking when it's time with room to grow. There are a lot of things, a lot of projects that could happen in Waldoboro that could significantly change this town's image. We just need to commit to something. That's what I got to say on that.
Who do you commit to?
That's what you guys need to solve.
Well, here we are, because we have the old Osram property. That would be a commitment to something if the townspeople vote that in. And that by itself could become an attraction for both business and people, depending on how. We have, I mean, remember, I don't know, Max, if it was you or another community planner. I mean, at one point, we had every commercial property that was available for sale listed on a map on the town website. Just because, you know, then it would make it easy for someone to find it. Waldoboro's Waldoboro's kind of unique. I mean, if you talk to people, they don't want to be Damascotta or Rockland. They don't want to be that. They want to be Waldoboro. And Waldoboro attracts interesting businesses. If you look back, Waldoboro attracts really unique businesses. The ones who've come in, the younger ones that have come in the last, say, 4 or 5 years, and they're doing good business. Hot Alewives, Topsail, the soap people, of course, they're not right now, but you know, there's a variety. There's a lot. There's energy. You know, there's people who care. Waldoboro's a little quirky. It's different. It's very diverse. You know, very diverse in attitude as well as the way we earn our living, the way we support ourselves. I mean, the things that are common are a very deep love of the land usually, and the river, and people are who they are. You know, you wouldn't walk into a town meeting when we were having town meetings in Waldoboro and be able to pick out who had money or who didn't have money, or, you know, who was, I mean, if you notice, people blend in town, you know, you can't easily tell or discriminate who's got more or who's more successful or anything. It's interesting because it's
Well,
not the same when you go to meetings in other towns.
Max, I've got a number question. As Jen was talking, it occurred to me, compared to the towns around us, yeah, are we a younger, is our profile of population the same as it was 20 years ago? Is it younger than it was, or is it older than it was? Because I got a feeling that the towns around us are aging even faster than we are, maybe, but I don't know that.
They are according to the data I saw about 3 or 4 years ago. And we didn't have as many younger families moving in at that point, but Waldoboro was the youngest town in Lincoln County. And then we weren't, that doesn't mean we're young, but we're the youngest in Lincoln County at that point.
Yeah, I
Would
wouldn't.
you- Are our taxes lower, and is average residence less expensive still?
Mm.
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, we
Is
were a
that something-
bargain real estate
involved with the
wise.
budget. Bob's involved with the budget. He'd know.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that Waldoboro is young.
Yeah,
I've never heard that. In fact, I've heard the opposite. I've heard that demographically, we're the oldest town in Lincoln County. And
That's my question.
State in the,
no, I can find, I'll get you the data. I had got that data from the county before. I'll see if it's still there.
well, maybe.
But I
Census now.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
census
'cause-
data will come out in a year.
Yeah, because when we look at, I think we have to look at that data. I don't think the average age is very meaningful in the sense that what you have is you have a lot of working families, and you have a lot of retired people who retired here, two completely different populations. And so the way that the numbers of each of them average out to average age, I don't think that really is what's important to us, because what you have is two very different demographics that are both important to the town. And that has to be, to George's point, like, what's the purpose of the slogan? You've got two very different demographics that you want this to work for, right? So, but I think looking at the data would be really, really helpful, because I don't know if it's probably not linked with income and all that, but I'm not sure.
I just found that in 2018, Lincoln County, Maine, this again 3 years ago, had 34,000 people with a median age of 50.7 and a median household income of 55,180. I don't know if I can get anything newer than that online.
I've seen a higher income on the median, on the area median income. It's about 59,000 or 57,000 now, but I haven't seen anything on age. But this kind of brings us back to George's point. I mean, this whole discussion started because we didn't like to call ourselves the home of the five-masted schooner anymore. We don't.
Oh, come on. How about clamming up the mid-coast?
That's something.
But he asked for something deeper than that. He's
Yeah.
asked for, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And if we find the problem, we might figure out an answer. And we're talking around a lot of interesting things, but I don't know that we've identified a problem per se.
Well, is it a problem if, let's just put this inside out for a minute. Is it a problem to have more people bring their pensions and retire here? Or is it a problem that it's too expensive for a young family with a couple of kids to live here?
Yeah.
Which one of those is the problem?
Well, honestly, you need young people and young families to keep anywhere going.
We can't find enough help right now at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you talk to people in Bremen and they're happy because they don't have a school district. And they don't have that support in their tax base.
We will never be without a school district.
Maybe I should have chosen another town, but the idea is that if you don't have a school to support, your taxes are low.
Mm.
And
But we have regional school system. We're always going to have a school to support.
yeah, no, that's true. But I'm just trying to get to the nub of George's question.
Right,
Mm.
right. But the point is, I mean, that's one way to utilize the retired people who can pay taxes without having kids, that we're still going to have that school district. But I will guarantee, and especially as if Waldeboro starts to catch up in real estate value, what is going to hurt us is if
Yeah.
we don't have a good elementary and middle school and high school system, that if those aren't good, people won't move here. Because the people who are likely to be moving to a place, at least all of my kids with my grandchildren, they're not going to move to somebody that has a crappy school.
Right.
Just not.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
So I think our schools, if we really want to attract young families, regardless of what the real estate prices are, we need to, and the people that actually get stuff done, unlike people like me, that making sure that the schools are strong is going to help a lot.
Do we
All
want
right,
to have
so
more
I
people
think-
retire here or do we not? Let's just do that for a second. Do we
What'd you
want
say,
more people to
George?
retire? Do we
I'm
want
sorry.
more people? Do we want more
Oh.
people to retire here?
Why not?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
if they're going to spend money.
it nurtures a service economy.
Part of what I think we're starting to sort of hurt ourselves on is we're starting to make this an age-focused thing. Why
Yeah.
are we making this aged focus? As Jen said, there's gonna be a school here regardless. And as Jan just said, why would we turn away people who want to retire and live here? Like, we shouldn't be limiting ourselves. The more you keep trying to say, let's just focus on this type of crowd, if you fail, then not only you alienated the people who want to
Yeah.
be, you spend money on trying to get people who might not want to be here.
I only
and
asked
I
the
don't
question
think
to
any of us
force the
are saying
discussion.
I think at least what I'm saying is that both of those demographics are important, and I think we need to be focusing on both of those, as difficult as that might be. But
I think
I'm agreeing with you in a way that I'm saying that I don't think either of those are exclusive. I think that disparate. I mean, I think one of the things that I value about Waldeboro a lot, that I always liked about it when we came here, and why we just, was that that there was this broad variety of people with different backgrounds of different socioeconomic area. It's one of the things, like when I traveled a lot on business domestically, like I used to go to Phoenix a lot, and I didn't like Phoenix in a way that it was very different from New England, because no one was from there. There was everybody, I knew one person in all my career going out there that was from Arizona. Everybody else was an implant. And that there's a lot of implant people here like me who, I have background in Maine, I have roots in Maine, but I moved from elsewhere. But I really appreciated that the people that were from here, that grew up here on this very street, embraced us. And we're very different from them, but we all got along. It was part of what makes Waldeboro really attractive, is that mix of people.
I'm not trying to make a divisive statement on that or anything. And I think we're trying to get on that same wavelength of there are a lot of important groups, and that's what I was just trying to get at too.
So the one thing that we have not succeeded in since I moved back home to Maine, and I think it was happening a few years before, jobs have been leaving Waldeboro pretty consistently since the early 2000s. And we have not managed to attract a major employer. And that might be something that might be an interesting goal that could also, as Max was saying, impact the town and how everybody experiences the town.
Well,
Ruben's back.
Oh, Ruben's been here. I've been listening.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been on for quite a while.
Ruben's been here since the beginning.
Well, I missed the first couple minutes. So first off, George, your question. I love it. You really did kick something off here. And I hear everyone making pieces of, I think I'm starting to see a solution, or at least a solution in my mind, come up from all these different questions. And none of these answers have been wrong. So, let's say someone moves here with their family. What can Waldoboro do to create a situation where, let's say, I'm here with my kids and they start to grow up. What's going to make them want to keep their family here for that generation? Still go out into the world, still have experiences, still go to Phoenix and hate it, but then come home because everything they need is here. We have Route One going through. We've got pretty strong data compared to a lot of Maine, and of course, one of the CTC guys talks about data. A lot of this town is set really well to sort of start a home base or even a homestead where you have your house with all your success you've built up, and maybe you go away to go to school, and maybe you leave for a little bit to start your life out. But what pieces are we missing for people to be able to sort of cradle to grave have their core here? What's stopping that?
I
I'm
think,
not sure that happens anymore, does it?
What?
Like I mean, most kids grow up and move.
I've got,
Unless you're running a farm or they're
I've got a
taking over the
sampling-
business or something like that, maybe, but.
I've got a sample N equals 6 in my family, and 3 of them live in Waldoboro or near Waldoboro, and one of them lives in Seattle, and one of them lives in DC, and one of them lives in Portland. So 4 of them stayed in Maine, and the 2 that moved out of state have just bought the house next door to me to move, to be able to visit back and have a place to stay. So I was just thinking back to the home concept. When I lived in Connecticut, well, let me put it frontwards. When I moved to Waldoboro, I was struck immediately by the long family histories of individuals here. In other words, there was houses that the same family had lived in for generations. And in Connecticut, everybody had just come there for something. But so the idea that there's a continuity or a history or a homeness, the essence of home, I think that's really a powerful concept. I'm not sure how you leverage it for anything, but I think it is, in hindsight, I think it's what people stay because of.
mm,
How about the idea that Waldoboro's a family?
mm.
I think that's a bit corny.
Is it? It probably
Depends
is.
on how well you get along with your own family.
Apparently you haven't been in my house at Thanksgiving.
I do think, though, that Scott hit on something when he talked about this feeling of that you get about living in Waldoboro. There's a core, and I can't define what it is, but there's a core that I feel I'm a part of. And I think if I had to guess at what it is, it's that I'm not from here. I moved here 15, 20 years ago, but I've been accepted. They accepted me, and they had no need to do that. They could have brushed me off. Tuz, who needs you? But they didn't do that. And that's important. It makes people sense that they belong somewhere.
Well, you had a real estate developer approach you. I remember approaching you in the town office because you were looking for space.
Right.
So I'm sure I'm the reason.
Yes, totally. But I agree with Jen. We don't have a major employer anymore, but I don't want a major employer anymore because we've seen what happens when we have one.
What do
I
you,
want small businesses and maybe a medical center to give us a little more core, which we're going to have. It's going to happen. And then this business base, this base of independent business people that we've evolved through no fault of our own, it's happened. It attracts people.
It's fertile ground and seeds germinating.
Right,
Yeah,
and it's more
that's true.
stable, it's a more stable portfolio, like having a portfolio of stocks, because none of if you have a major employer, that has some advantages, but you're then very dependent on that major employer.
And you get hurt when it goes.
Right. I mean, the one major employer, we do have a major employer, actually, and it's the clams right here and out in the bay.
And
And that-
it's the school to some extent as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And those, we need to make sure we protect them, but,
Right.
All right, well, hey, folks, so we've spent maybe
50
45 minutes on this. So let's all have a little homework leading up to our next meeting, which would be, I think we still need to, I think all these ideas are wonderful. I think we're heading in the right direction, but let's answer George's question.
Yeah.
Let's answer. So why don't we make that our homework for the next meeting? Does that
I
make
think
sense?
I think the select board need to answer the question as well.
What do you think, Bob?
I don't think the select board is in a position to answer the question. I think the select board is looking for some creative energy. And it's looking to this committee for it.
And the question is who the branding is geared towards.
No, the question is, what is the problem we're trying to
What's the
solve?
problem?
What is the problem?
It's the Chinese program.
Yeah,
What problem are we trying to solve? That's George's question. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
it is brilliant.
Great.
But I think we should, when we think about this, we should think about it on the converse of solving a problem by saying that, well, Waldoboro, look at it the way of Waldoboro doesn't have a problem, we have an opportunity. How do we get there?
Every
Because-
problem is an opportunity.
Exactly, right. It's not like chaos is not something, it's a ladder. What did the
Mhm.
figure say? Right?
Sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because if we're trying to say, take advantage of the fact that we're spread out or, because we're all the two things that I heard in the beginning of possible slogans is come home to Waldoboro, and the other was Waldoboro works. Well, everybody's working at home now. So,
Come home and work
Waldoboro
at
works at home or Waldoboro, I don't know, but that look at it both ways. I think it's a good homework assignment, but I think we should look at it as trying to solve the problems that that Waldoboro may have, but the other is to look at it, well, how can we get to where we want to go in terms of opportunity?
So the other thing I agree with that. The other thing I would add is if somebody has an aha moment between now and our next meeting, put it in an email and share it so we can get a little dialogue going, have something leading into the next meeting instead of coming at it cold.
Sure. And if there is, that list is available of what the people put on their little Post-it notes, however many years ago, it could still help our thinking process just to go through them.
Who would have that, Max?
I'll try and find it. I will try and see if I can find.
It was probably written onto a 2 by 3 foot piece of paper and torn off a panel and put on a chair.
Oh dear.
Well, Patrick, it might have been Patrick or was it Misty? It was one of them. I think that.
Patrick, I think maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And I think that he had it a big, what do you call those sheets of paper there, and he put it up all over that. But I think he must have written down, not just, he wanted to do something with it.
All right.
All right, good discussion. Thank you, everybody. Max, any updates on the town?
So there's going to be 2 forums coming up in May. On May 13th, there's going to be an 80 Gray forum to talk about the 2 proposals that are going to be on the warrant. At 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., the citizens petition advocating for the park will present their proposal, and then we'll answer any questions that the residents might have. And then from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to have Volunteers of America presenting their proposal and answering questions from the public. it will be available to watch online. People can Zoom it. And if people want to ask questions, they're encouraged to write them beforehand and send them to my office through an email, just so that I can easily put them on the list. And just so one person during the meeting doesn't take up the entire day, I can say, well, here are all these people who asked their questions like 3 days ago. We're going to just have them ask first. And it's just going to be an information session, really. We wanted to do it very early in the month just because we're going to be sending out the warrants through mail soon. I think you can get your absentee ballots if you request it to the town right now. So hint, hint. And then that is for May 13th. On May 18th, there is going to be another forum for the Sylvania site where we're going to have
What was the date of the other one? 18th? What?
18th.
13th.
80 Gray is on the 13th. Sylvania is on the 18th, 1/8. And on that night, we're going to have Max Lewick from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection attending. He has been the one who's been involved through the Sylvania site throughout this whole process. He's going to be there to give his perspective as a member of the DEP office, as well as talking about the environmental covenant, any restrictions for the site, and pretty much all the work that Ledvance and the state have been doing to get to this point. That's going to be a similar format. It's going to start at 6 p.m. DP will say whatever they're going to say and answer questions. And then the second portion, we're going to talk about what the site could be used for development. And I'll give my idea of what should be done, talking about the EDA and trying to sort of piecemeal the whole project. The site doesn't have to be one big thing. It can just be a few little different parts, and that will be, and that's gonna, again, get some questions from people. Can we not do this? Can we do this? And Max will probably still be there to say, yeah, this use is allowed, this use isn't allowed. And that'll hopefully end by 8 p.m.
So do you have flyers by chance, Max, on these?
So because we didn't want to confuse too many people, the town's Facebook page should have the notice already sent out for the 80 Gray forum. And I also put a press release in this week's paper. And I'm going to do the Sylvania one next week, or at least I'm going to mail out the press release by the end of this week, so that that can be a press release in the Waldeboro section as well. And it's not going to overlap the two.
Thank you.
So will you be posting a link, Max, for the Zoom participants?
I believe that's already on the Waldeboro Facebook page.
Is this always the link that we're on right now? Is this the link for Waldeboro?
This is the link you use for any meeting.
Is there a limit to how many folks can listen in?
200.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we should be good. And we will allow in-person seating for those who don't have that great of an internet connection. So, and even then we asked just for reservations ahead of time. Yeah, I think that's it.
I'm looking on the Facebook page and I see there's an event. There's an event created.
Yep,
Be Great Community Forum Q&A. Okay.
that's it. Bob?
Is there a moderator chosen at this point? Have you got somebody?
For the 80 Gray meeting, Bill Maypower from McKed will be doing it. And then for the Sylvania site, he's actually here right now. It's Scott. Unless he's changed his mind.
Oh, can I change my mind?
No, not no.
Hey, Scott, you got the good one.
No, that was an option. Yeah, I have very strong opinions about the other one, and I'm glad I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
May I ask one more question, Jan, of Max?
Yes.
I thought VOA was going to be present in both forums. I guess I misunderstood.
VOA was going to be at the Sylvania site meeting?
No. The VOA was going to be present during the presentation of the park option, as well as the presentation of their own option?
I mean, it'll be a public meeting, so if they want to attend as a member of the audience, they can, and then maybe I missed something.
Don't worry about it. I do understand what you're doing, and when I think about it, it makes sense.
Well, it's just it's just designated time, just so that one group does have more time to talk about their proposal, and then the other group will have sort of their time to talk about their proposal. Just so, like, if there's questions for one group, it doesn't take up the majority of the 2 hours.
Got it.
I,
Okay.
I think it's safe to say that whoever goes second has a bit of an advantage.
Maybe. I guess I wonder, I'm wondering, is there a person, a townsperson who would be, I'm wondering whether the VOAA is actually at a disadvantage, because they're an outside entity,
Well, yeah.
company, coming in with a business proposal. And the parks people are townspeople advocating for a particular use. And I'm wondering whether it would be, and VOA could, maybe you could talk with them and they could think about it, but if there is maybe they could use a townsperson, and maybe there is just organically going to appear out of the Zoom ether of somebody who would be an advocate, but somebody from the town acting as a town advocate for this particular proposal. Because I actually think that they're at a disadvantage.
Probably right.
Well,
That's a good point.
yeah.
I just want to remind everybody who might be listening that someone who would qualify to be able to rent in a VOA facility
Mhm.
is not a person that should be looked at as not contributing to the town. And I would be one of those people.
That
And I really take it personally.
we need to get into that conversation when we have that forum, Jen. And I
Yeah.
hope you are there and make that point.
Oh, I've been making that point to anybody who talks to you. That's for sure. I mean, it is, I don't understand that. I really don't understand it. So it feels very pointedly biased. And it makes me feel that someone like me would not be welcome.
And that gets back to the conversation we had at the beginning of this meeting about community,
Yeah.
and inclusion, and mutuality. So
And it actually goes beyond that, because I'm not sure how many residents would live in the building, but they're going to spend money.
I know.
That's economic development. I mean, we're trying to figure out how to get people to move into Waldoboro, and here's somebody who wants to convert a vacant building into housing for folks that'll bring money into our town. It just drives me crazy, honestly.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
I
mean,
think
we can go.
the answer to your question is there will be people at the meeting listening to VOA who will have things to say in support of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's encouraged that, if people want to stick around for both meetings, people are certainly welcome to stick around for both meetings. And whether you're for, against, or your mind's just not made up at this point, it's good for everyone to attend as much of this forum as they can. Because
Hey, Max, how do we make it publicly aware that the EDC has supported the town's endeavors to negotiate with VOA?
That will be done at the next select board meeting, now that the minutes have been approved, at which
Okay.
that motion was made.
Yes.
That's
Okay, good.
will be delivered at the next select board meeting.
But I'd like the townsfolk who are in that meeting to know that.
Yeah.
I think goes to what Bob was just saying. Once the select board kind of makes it noticed, and now that it is public knowledge, I mean, Volunteers of America might just say at their meeting, you know, we're supported by the EDC and these other
Okay.
groups. So it might just come naturally during the presentation.
All right, good, thank you. Hey, Ruben, you want to give us an update?
DTC?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So as some of you may or may not be aware, I super like the internet. You go ahead and put that in the notes. There's about a third of a mile left on Chapel Hill Road to be wired. The rest of Chapel Hill has cable installed. Please don't confuse that with the network being live. This is all still just media installation right now. The road behind Chapel, and if I understood what I was seeing today, a few houses in front of Chapel are left to be wired. I have an email out to Charter just asking if they can ballpark when that network will turn on. I expect the reality to be that we'll probably hear from residents that they're scheduling their installs before we hear back on that, which wouldn't be a huge surprise. But lots of progress there, and I'm super happy to see that particular task go to bed. Ahead of that, Max has done some fantastic work requesting some grants for some additional roads. And I know there's Storm Mountain Road that's on the list, and the other two are escaping me.
Flanders Corner and Fintown.
Thank you, Max. That's awesome. So we've got some grants in to get those wired. And we started a conversation at yesterday's CTC meeting, figuring out just what the heck we want to do next. And we're bouncing around some ideas. There's going to be a few houses left, you know, individual homes that don't have internet. We'll want to work with those folks. But after that, we have this future state to consider. And so we're trying to think bigger and wider. And we got as far as talking about a network with a capacity of 10 gigabit to any endpoint. Not that fast on day one, but something with the capacity to handle that, because that's something, if you install it now, it'll be good for 30, 40, 50 years. So that's a brand new thought that the ink hasn't even dried on, but it's, you know, it's something we're bouncing around. So that is the latest and greatest to my mind right now. Bob or Max, anything I left out there?
Just to point out that Ruben's our vision man.
What's
All
ink
right,
anyway?
go Ruben.
What's
ink?
That's fantastic.
All right, good. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read John's update on COVID.
Yeah.
And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but there was a number of new cases at, I guess,
I think it
Not
was
sure if
36 at Lincoln.
was it
just
36?
south.
And
Yeah.
his point was that the majority of those folks have not had even their first COVID vaccination. And man, that
Yeah.
just makes you shake your head, doesn't it?
Yep.
So his message is pretty clear. Please,
Did
please
you-
go out there and get vaccinated.
Did you guys see that Lincoln County's numbers are the highest they've ever been over the past month? They have not, this whole year, we kept them down. This past month, that we're right over the highest numbers.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing to what you just said, Jan, that we
Yes.
got from John Martins? He also said that Lincoln Health is now offering walk-in appointments daily at the Booth Bay Region Y Clinic.
Yep.
Walk-ins are available from 8:15 to 4:15, Monday through Friday. This week only, they're available Wednesday until 6. And this is for people aged 18 and up seeking a first dose of the vaccine. And they're also opening Saturday from 8 to noon and accepting walk-ins as well. So they're trying really hard to broaden that base of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
working
just no excuse
I'm
not to get
working on a
vaccinated.
letter. I'm working on a letter to the editor entitled COVID-22.
All right, good. I don't believe we have any old business that we haven't discussed yet. Is there any new business that anybody would like to
I would just do a quick update. There's a lot of trees cut down now for the eel operation. They're making serious headway, and the other aquaculture activity up in the Arch building, they do have oysters living in tanks now.
Wow.
Wow, good.
Nice.
That's
We're
exciting.
making headway.
Cool.
Great.
Hey, George, do you want to give us you can or not, but do you want to give us an update on the legal battle? And I know you've been sending out some information on that in terms of the shorefront.
Everybody get a cup of coffee. Yeah, the basic thing that we was talking about, and I think I sent it to several of you. I was trying to think of how to get it dispersed. A few years ago, there was a court ruling that suggested that people who live near the shore own the seaweed below their house, which completely flies in the face of the idea that the state of Maine is the trustee for the intertidal zone, as it has been since 1647, and as it is since 1500, if you read the Magna Carta. They basically screwed up a court ruling, in, of course, my view, when they did the Moody Beach decision in the late 80s, where they somehow allowed that to happen, that it was somehow privately owned, unless you have a fishing pole with you, and then you can go on Moody Beach, but that's, don't even get me going on that. Anyway, there's a group that's, and I'm one of them, one of the plaintiffs, who are raising money to pay a legal firm to fight the fight about who owns the intertidal zone. When did the state ever give it away? Because there's no time when they ever did. You can read everybody's diary since 1647, and the state never gave the intertidal zone to the upland owner. So on the basis of that and some very capable legal people, they're trying to get this back into the courts, not about who owns the seaweed, but about the general idea of who owns the intertidal zone, and with the fact that there has never been a time when it was categorically given to upland owners, and no one pays taxes on it. And I mean, I don't even get me going on that, but so there's going to be a different question asked, and it hinges on the ownership, not the seaweed. And I was concerned that wasn't a good tactic, because there's so many people who will put ads on television about how much they love their own beach, but there's an awful lot more people in the state that don't have beachfront than do.
Yeah.
And on that basis, there's this crazy logic problems if you try and say that people own the beach. It just literally, if you bring a fishing pole with you, then they can't kick you off. It's that stupid.
Right, but what it's like I have clam flats on my property. If I were to go to the state and say, you're regulating my use of the clam flats to protect the clam industry is unconstitutional, I would lose that.
Yeah, well,
I would think. So
and
the
that's-
converse should also be true with regard to some other crop like seaweed, that the state has the power to regulate the use of that intertidal zone. I'm with you, George. It doesn't
yeah,
make
no,
any
no,
sense.
I know that. And so to arm you just a little bit more, in fact, I might send out some stuff that I've researched, but the original language starting in 1647 was, the original intent was to give upland owners the right, in a sense, an easement to build a dock, as long as it didn't interfere with fishing, fowling, and navigation. And so what spills off of that choice of words from 300 years ago is, well, what do we really mean by fishing, fowling, and navigation? Is clams fish? Well, yes. Is mussels fish? Yes. Is seaweed fish? Yes, in all of the regulations on law books since forever. And yet a court ruled that seaweed is more like an oak tree that a landowner owns than a mussel, which is fastened to the mud and gets its nutrition out of the water. I see a hand.
Yeah, I was going to ask George whether you have an actual case in hand that the court can adjudicate.
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
In fact, if I can't find everybody's email, I'll send it to Max. In fact, I maybe did send it to Max. There's a website, which I've already forgotten the name of, but it's where they're trying to raise money. And it's not, it's all being funded privately. Not this, it's no state, the state is not even a named defendant or plaintiff. They're just a group that didn't want to take a side, which irritates me. Because all the state main laws and definitions absolutely are clear that the intertidal zone belongs to the people of the state of Maine and held in trust for their benefit. And yet somehow seaweed got to be slid off to the side and Moody Beach got private ownership. But Max, did I send that to you with the website?
Is that the one that is titled Our Lawsuit, George?
Probably, if it was an email from me, yes, probably is.
It talks about the complaint that was filed in Cumberland County Superior Court on Earth Day.
Yes, that's the one. It was a court, it was on television.
Is there another one?
No, that is the day that they released the 19 pages of court case where I'm the second defendant or plaintiff rather.
Okay.
But yeah, if I sent that to you, then you can send it around as easy as I could. But that whole legal document outlines the argument, which to me is just so evident. I mean, it makes no sense to try and do this any other way than what they intended originally.
Maybe what they wanted to motivate was a lawsuit like this so they could rule on it for finality.
Well, one of the things that makes this complicated is about a year ago, we had a law that we tried to pass, which would clarify the ownership even more. We had the Maine Attorney General's office absolutely in support of it. They took a position about how they would defend this if this legislation was passed. And all it did was clarify what is already on the books as to the nature of the seaweed, not even the whole intertidal zone. And the Maine Realtors Association and some conservation groups spent a lot of money lobbying against us. And it was at a very complicated time in Augusta. And so the people who were voting did not vote through what the Attorney General suggested they should and what we all wanted them to, because they were afraid it was going to be viewed as a taking and the state would be on the hook for all the value of all the shorefront that people lost because it wasn't their seaweed. I mean, you explain that one to me. And as I say, I don't know of any town that has surveyed or expects surveying of the intertidal zone and assesses people's taxes are based on the market value of their house, not the acres of mud.
Well, and it's to the high water mark.
Yeah, well, no, but I have a deed that says it goes to low water mark in accordance with the laws of state of Maine, which says that people can fish, fowl, and navigate. Well, there's lots of deeds that do go down, except many of them were written 50 years ago because you can write anything you want in your deed.
Right.
I could write a deed to your house and we'd have to go to court and see who had your house. I mean, that's the real thing. But
Well,
people write deeds to the intertidal zone that they have no basis for. So
right.
it's not going to happen fast, but yeah, if I think I attached the actual court case, Bob, if you got that email.
Yeah, okay. I got the email, so I'll send it around, George.
Yeah, if you've got the attached court case, it's you want it on the back of the toilet. It's a pretty long read, but the legal argument is it's very, very well done.
Very good. Thank you, George.
Thank
I
you.
just looked I was looking at all the town websites to see if there was anybody who had something interesting we should look at. Rockland, Maine town website, I think we should all look at it. They have a section called Doing Business, and they have a section on, when you click on that, why do business in Rockland? I think that we should look at that.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. Terrific.
If you think to send that link off, that would be the best way to ensure I looked at it.
Yep,
All right,
send it
I'll
to
do
everybody.
that. I'll
All
do
right,
it
Jen.
right now.
Thank you. Any other new? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I sent an email out, I think in early April. We had the students from the University of Maine in Orono. They looked at a few different infrastructure projects here town projects in the area. The links are 10 to 20 minutes each. That just shows different little sections, what to do. I should be getting final reports from them, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. And that's going to be a bit more detailed, but yep, that was all I was going to do. It was great working with these students. And if there are other projects we have, they say we'll gladly take more projects for the next school year. So please give us some more.
Tell
I
them
looked
we
at one of those.
need a slogan for the town of Waldeboro.
Scott, you were saying?
Well, I was just gonna say, so when you get the final reports, you're gonna send those around?
Yep. When I
Similar.
get the digital, I'll send it out to everyone.
Okay, great.
And George, were you going to say something?
Well, just, I looked at one of those videos and it was very well done.
Yep. If I remember correctly, for that entire class or seniors project getting done, there were 9 groups. Waldeboro was 3 of them.
Wow.
Nice.
We had that many projects.
That's terrific. All right, any other new business? Then we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks, everybody. Good job.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
All right.
folks.
You too.